Thanks for dropping in on our channel once again at Bleeding Edge Tattoo Supply for another exciting video. Now today we are not going to be talking about a new product to our lineup. There are lots of other videos, and definitely make sure you come back here to check for those new videos that drop all the time. But today I thought it would be worthwhile to do a little bit of a PSA and explain to some of those who may be a little bit in the dark the difference between a coil machine and a rotary tattoo machine. Most of you will know the difference, but in case any of you guys are in the dark, I'm going to show you through that, and I'm going to explain the pros and cons of both and hopefully help you make a decision on which way you want to go. So first off, I'm going to explicitly lay out my bias in the beginning and let you know that I am an old school fellow. I'm from the age where we were soldering, needles and jigs onto our own needle bars and mixing our colors from powdered pigment. So to say that I'm kind of loyal to the coil is true. I grew up with them. I like a nice hard-hitting coil machine. That being said, rotary has certainly changed the industry in the past 5 years. So let's take a look at why. So as you can see, these are all coil machines. They come in lots of different shapes and styles and sizes and all of that jazz. Don't be fooled by it. And these are rotary machines. Also come in lots of different shapes and sizes and styles and design. So what is the main difference between them? Well, a traditional coil machine, and honestly, technology hasn't changed much in over 100 years. This kind of a machine works using electromagnetic coils. That's what we mean by coil machine, okay? Where a rotary machine actually has a motor that drives that needle in and out a little bit like a sewing machine, okay? So that's the difference between the two in a nutshell. Now, in case you're unfamiliar with what electromagnetic coils are, there are these two electromagnetic coils. Basically, they're magnets that are only magnetized when electricity is running through them. With a traditional coil machine, you're going to plug in a clip cord here into these two little posts here. Your needle would connect to this armature bar and go through this grip, which is how you're going to hang on to it, and you're going to tattoo like that. And the way it works is when everything's connected to an electrical circuit and you step on your foot switch, these magnets will turn on, and now that they're magnetized, this armature bar here, which your needle is attached to, will be sucked down to the magnets. But if you look real close, this leaf spring is no longer in connection with the contact screw. So since it's not connected there, that means there's no electricity running through there, the circuit's broken, your magnets turn off, and it snaps back up. It's not magnetized. But now that it's snapped up and connecting the contact screw, electricity is running through, these come back on, and it sucks that armature bar back down. But again, the circuit's now broken and it snaps back up, and that is how a traditional coil machine tattoos. Only you'd have a needle attached here that runs down through your grip. This is a fun machine here. It actually has 3 coils, a rather unique armature bar here, right? So why you'd want to use something that has that much pull? Imagine you want to do something crazy and do like a huge blackout sleeve and you're using like an 89 mag or something like that. You're going to need some power to push that many needles. That's when I pull Carol out. But same basic technology as pretty much every other coil machine, right? Frames are different. Coils are wrapped a little bit differently, but contact screw, leaf spring, armature bar, all these things are still there, right? Chuck is there. They're all the same technology in every single one. This guy is a genuine George Keeler machine. It's pretty fancy. So even though it looks pretty cool, again, same technology. You got the same coils here, right?
capacitor over here. He's just wrapped it and, you know, powder coated it and the whole bit to look really cool, like this cool army green Jeep looking thing. But don't be fooled by the different shapes and sizes and colors and designs of coil machines. They all operate the same way. This one is another interesting style. Same coil machine, but you'll notice that the contact screw is upside down. The leaf spring is over here, but still same basic operation. Right? Same machine. Coils, they're wrapped pretty funky, but still the armature bar, still the contact screw, still the chuck. Technology for coil machines hasn't changed in over 100 years. Where a rotary machine, it is a motor. I don't know if you can tell here. This is a rotary machine. It's not a rotary pen, but rotary machine, and your needle would attach to this and go through here into a traditional grip like that. Very, very similar, okay, to a coil machine. But no electromagnetic coils. This has a little motor right here, which if you watch, when this is turned on and that little cam wheel is spinning around, your needle is going to go up and down. Like that. So imagine you got yourself a little sewing machine and it's just constantly like a freight train pumping that needle down. Okay? That's the main difference between the two of them. Now each of them have pros and cons. Okay? Let's start with a coil. So a coil, if you know what you're doing and you have a little bit of experience with these guys, there's a lot of tinkering you can do. So good and bad. It does make it a little bit finicky, and every little thing can kind of throw it off, so it's not operating perfectly, but you can adjust, you know, the length of the contact screw. You can adjust the angle. You can adjust the armature bar and the leaf springs, and you can adjust the, you know, voltage on your power supply, and you can adjust the depth of your tube that's in here, whether you're using disposable or otherwise. You can adjust all kinds of things on the fly to tweak your machine as you're going, mid-tattoo, right? So to me, I think that's kind of a bonus. I like to be able to tinker and get it tuned just perfectly. Whereas a rotary machine, you get one of these jackhammer looking guys, and if it craps out on you, that's it. Right? Unless you're some kind of machinist that knows how to tear this apart and, you know, replace the internals, you're sending it back to the manufacturer to be repaired. So that sucks. Where if your coil machine kind of craps out on you mid-tattoo, there's 101 things you can do to tweak that machine. Even replacing the parts, right? There's no real mystery to this. You can unscrew everything, put in new coils, put in new capacitors, all that stuff, new contact screws, whatever you need to. Everything on here is replaceable. You can strip it right down to the bare frame and put it in all new parts if you need to, right? Anyone can do this, super easy. This, not so much. And a lot of machines will tell you the minute you open up the casing in a rotary machine, it voids any kind of warranty. So if you really don't know what you're doing, don't mess with your rotary machine. Okay, so now let's look at some downsides of the coil machine. And the biggest downside to this is one, it's heavy and it's offset, right? So it doesn't feel as natural as using a pencil or a marker or something like that. It does take some time to kind of work up those muscles, and if you're not used to it, first few tattoos you do, your arms are going to be sore, right? That's just the way of the beast. I like it. I've got used to it. I like that offset weight. I like the heaviness. I like the hard-hitting coil machine. But again, I kind of grew up on this. A lot of new guys just stepping into the industry will struggle a little bit in the beginning using a coil. The other downside to this is as you can see, you're going to use traditional needles. Something like this kind of thing, okay? And of course, every needle is different grouping for a different purpose, and there are other videos you can look for to explain all that. But The important thing is that for each and every needle grouping, obviously, there's a large difference between a round grouping and a mag. So with a traditional coil machine, the tip of the tube that you're using obviously has to fit specifically to the needle that you're using, which means there is a completely different setup for each and every needle. Right? This is a diamond tip round grouping tube. Obviously would not fit this needle. I would need a different tube to be able to use this needle. So that means tearing this all apart, putting in a new tube, new tip, new needle in there, and re-barrier wrapping everything and then tattooing again. Or having another machine already set up. It's a pain in the butt to change in the middle of a tattoo, which means if you're a professional and you know you're 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, tattooing every single day, that's your career, you probably have a handful of machines. And you're going to set up 2 or 3 or 4 for every tattoo. So you can have one that's tuned to be your liner and it's set up with a lining needle on there. And you'll have another one that's set up to be a shader, or one that's got a large mag for doing your whip shading or whatever it is you're doing. Because you don't want to be setting those all up and changing them mid-tattoo. So you need an arsenal of machines, or at least a handful that are your go-to machines to really do a good job tattooing with this and save yourself a lot of time and headache in the middle of a tattoo. The bonus of a rotary machine, especially, even these are kind of outdated, especially if you move to a rotary pen, is that this is all done. There is no longer tube, there's no longer, I mean, you have specific needles, but you're going to be using a coil, a cartridge, I should say. So let's pop one of these guys out here so you can take a look. And this is very just plug and play, right? Stick it in your machine, you're good to go. Real easy to pop in. Most cartridges are universal. Most machines are. Most, not all. So changing your needle grouping is as simple as that, right? Give it a twist, pop it out, pop in the new size. Now you got a mag in there, start shading away. Same machine keeps going. You don't have 15 minutes of tearing this down and setting up a new needle setup and tube for each and every technique, right? One machine will do it all if you have a good quality machine. They certainly come in a big range. You can buy entry-level machines and you can buy ones that are, $1,500 a pop. Now, that's an obvious advantage. The other thing I want to point out between these two, right? Again, I'm not trashing the coils at all. I love coil machines. However, as someone who has been in the industry for decades and someone who operates my own studios, I've run my own for 16 years. I can tell you that the entire industry has switched over to rotary, a rotary pen like this kind of thing, and it's really easy to see why, right? The motors that they're putting in rotary pens now are top-notch, right? They do really, really nice work. Cartridges that are available are really good quality. Not to mention you have obvious advantages like the fact that a lot of rotary pens are wireless. No more clip cord, no more foot pedal, which means less cross-contamination, less barrier wrap for all of these things. You've got one machine. It's also a lot more portable, which is really super handy. I mean, if you are a professional tattooer, I would recommend spending a few dollars more than the $100 jobby you can find on Amazon or AliExpress. But most decent machines will have an adjustable stroke length right here on your machine. So this is the Peak Solus Pro, and it will allow you to adjust from 2.4 all the way to 4.2. So this is your liner, this is your shader. It will do everything all in one, which is pretty fantastic. And with the Peak Solus Pro in particular, this grip will also allow you, I don't know if I'm holding this well, will also allow you to change the hit of the needle, which is kind of nice. If you're a guy like me, I got really good vision up close. I like those needles sticking out from the tip because I can see exactly where they're going. So if you like them hanging out a little bit, you can change. You can change that needle depth. it's really easy to see why everyone has switched over. So that being the case, everyone else has kind of followed suit. So this is kind of my advice to guys that are looking to start in the business, or even guys that have been doing it for a long time and are thinking, oh, I don't know, do I want to switch over or do I want to hang on to my coils? Again, your coil machine will perform for you. There's nothing wrong with that. I love them. They're great. The downside is, because so many artists have adopted the rotary pen as their machine of choice, it's getting harder and harder to even find supplies for coil machines. And if you keep on that path, it probably within the next 5 years or so, you're going to have a really hard time even finding supplies for you to continue tattooing. So you can wait until that happens, and now you're paying a premium on buying new coil machines because there's only a handful of guys that are hand making them. and you know, traditional needles and traditional tubes and all that stuff, or switch over to using a rotary pen. It's an adjustment. I hear you, I understand, but look around. There are a lot of guys that are doing phenomenal work using a rotary pen. It's not going to hinder the quality of artwork you're putting out there, right? It will not at all. It's just different medium, you know? But you're going to find it a lot easier to find supplies, and it's a lot easier for your setup, and it's you know, a lot less risk of cross-contamination, and there's a lot more variety of supplies now, right? Everybody is selling rotary pens and cartridges and all the fun stuff that goes with them. You're going to notice in a lot of suppliers, at least here in North America, they're really depleting their stores of traditional coil machine and supplies that go with it. Mainly because, like I say, no one's buying it anymore, right? There's really a handful of crusty old diehard guys like me that are loyal to the coil to the very end, and we refuse to switch over. But they're pretty much the only ones that are using it. Everyone else has switched to this. So my personal advice, as someone who's been in the industry as long as I have, and someone who runs a supply company and I see the trends, if you're just starting, I would recommend learning the rotary pen. And if you're someone who is currently operating and you're using a coil machine, make the switch. It is worth it. You're going to save yourself a lot of time and headaches in the not too distant future by moving to a rotary pen, right? And if you have questions, give us a call. Come on in here. I'm happy to talk more in depth about the technical specs and how all of these things work and what the in-depth pros and cons are of each. But hopefully this video was a little bit helpful for you and gave you maybe some insight you didn't have before. And yeah, hopefully we're going to help you make some good decisions going forward. In the meantime, by all means, make sure you always come back here and check out our channel for new videos, for new supplies and new products that we're adding to our catalog all the time.